welcome to episode 75 of Fluffy Fibres, the French podcast in English on sewing and knitting, a handmade wardrobe from head to toe. Thank you so much for joining me today on this day of early December 2019, and like everyone else, I just cannot believe that we're already in the last month of 2019. I do hope you're all doing really well. So my name is Isabelle and I am talking to you from Montpellier in southern France, and I am very happy to be back with you today. So my previous episode was devoted to all of my knitting from the previous month, but I have been incredibly inspired with my sewing over the past few months, and so as I was compiling my notes for the episode, I realised there was so much to share that it would be probably wiser to split the content into two episodes. So this is the first of two episodes that will be devoted to what I have been sewing over the summer and autumn. So this episode is devoted to my summer and early autumn sewing, so warm weather and then transitional weather sewing. And then episode 76 will be devoted to my winter sewing, like the clothes I've been making recently for, the colder months. And also this is where I will be sharing my future plans as well, which is always so exciting, I find. So yes, before I forget, as I did last in the previous episode, you can find me as Fluffy Fibres on Instagram, where I am most active. And you can also find me on my blog, which is fluffyfibres.com, where you will find the show notes as well. And I am also Fluffy Fibres on Ravelry if you're a knitter and you're interested in looking at my projects over there. So yes, so for today we will have my cup of tea, a handmade wardrobe, events, or rather non-events as you will see, and then all of my sewing projects that I've finished in August and September. So for my cup of tea today, so I am using my very dear hand-turned, hand-painted mug, which was made very near from Montpellier. It's super special to me, and it's got little hearts that seem to be growing like flowers, so of course it's super special, super cute. And I really love the shape as well, and it's super big, so it's like a cup and a half, a mug and a half of tea. And so today I'm drinking one of my current obsessions, which I feel is very wintry, and it is from Le Palais d'été. So it's not organic, but it's really wonderful. And they're actually working towards making all of their teas organic in the future. So it's the Rooibos, hopefully you can see this, Rooibos déveiné. There you go. And so it's flavoured with vanilla and almonds, and it's very it really feels like a sweet treat, really. And I really love it. So it's been one of my favourite teas to drink at the moment. So yeah, I feel it's very warming. It's a very warming kind of tea. And I do hope this time I managed to actually drink it as I record. So if you don't see me drink it, if you see the cup going, sadly cold as I am recording, please do tell me. But yeah, well, I know you can't do that because this is not live, but I wish sometimes you could, because when I edit the podcast after recording myself, I just always find it very sad that my poor neglected cup is sitting next to me and the tea is growing cold in it. But don't worry, as soon as the episode is done, I just warm the tea up and drink it anyway. So yes. So for a handmade wardrobe today, I am wearing something that I will be sharing later on in the podcast. It is a very sweet little blouse that I love. It's like cute casual, I would say, which I love wearing on my, when I'm working from home or on the weekends. So yes, it's the Iris blouse by Slow Sunday Paris, which I will be talking about later. And the fabric is from my friend Lise Tailor. It's her One Apple a Day navy viscose. So and as you will see, both episodes are going to be very heavy with Lise Tailor fabrics, because to me, sewing from her fabrics is incredibly special, because she is a very, very dear friend, and I absolutely love what she's been doing, you know, in terms of using factories from around her, and you know, making fabrics that are completely unique. So I absolutely love what she's been doing, and I absolutely adore the motifs that she creates every single time, and especially the color palettes that she makes, that she creates as well. So I'm a huge fan of her. So yeah, I've been absolutely loving sewing from her fabric over the past year, really, because it's been a year since she opened her fabric shop. So happy birthday to your shop, Lise. But yeah, and there is something incredibly special in sewing with this fabric. You know, it's if you're a knitter, it's the same as if you're knitting a pattern from someone, a designer that you really, that is a true friend, or a yarn that has been dyed by a friend, and it adds an extra layer of joy, really, to the process. You know, not just making these, but also wearing it. Like every time I wear one of these garments, I think of my friend. So it's always so lovely. But yeah, I did want to get that out of the way first and foremost, because there is going to be quite a lot of Lise Tailor fabric in this episode and in the future episode as well. So as far as events, I just wanted to share very quickly, but this concerns especially my French viewers. Coucou à toutes celles qui me suivent en français, qui sont francophones. But yeah, sadly, after all, I was not able to go to the events I was mentioning last in my previous episode, because I was just too poorly in terms of my vertigo especially, and I just didn't feel it wise. Also, I have a very strong sensitivity to noise, and this is made worse if I'm tired, so I just didn't feel that it was wise to go. So I was disappointed, but I think it was really the right thing to do for me. So there will always be other opportunities, so yes, that's the way it goes. So yes, and yes, this kind of thing I tend to share in my on Instagram, in my stories. So what I typically share in my stories also are my daily outfits. So every time I've got a minute, I just take a picture of myself in my handmade outfit of the day, and I just love sharing this in my stories on Instagram. So let's move on to everything I've been making over the past, so over August and September. So first of all, I made, so if you may or may not recall, because it's been a very long time since I talked about my sewing, but I made some Carrie trousers in the late spring in some organic cotton crepe from Les Trouvailles d'Amandine in France. And I absolutely love these trousers, and I always find, as many of us really, the process of sewing and especially fitting trousers really daunting and difficult. And I was really happy that these were very easy to fit actually, and really worked well, I feel, on me, and they are very, very comfortable at the same time as being elegant. So I made another pair, and actually in my previous episode I remember I actually mentioned that this was a possible plan of mine with this specific fabric. So yeah, as you will see over the episode, I have been busy filming every single one of my of the clothes I've been making over the past 4 months. So I've made little mini films of each and every one of them, and I will be inserting them in the episode because it's not really easy to show them here, because I have a very narrow room, so it's just 2 meters wide, so it's very difficult to actually, you know, stand up and show you in detail. So I feel this is going to be much more interesting to see for you, but still you will be able to see how the fabric flows and everything. So yes, so I made Carrie trousers in this gorgeous blue peony fabric by Lise Tailor. So this was from her spring and summer collection, and I absolutely love, I mean, peonies I just adore. And this motif as well, it's, you know, they look like watercolour, and I absolutely love painting flowers whenever I find the time. So yeah, absolutely loved this design. The Carrie trousers have this very wide waistband, which is not elasticated at the front, but starts being elasticated at the hips, and then is elasticated at the back, which is why this is easy to fit. And yeah, and what I really love about this, as you will see in the video, is the way in which the pockets are aligned with the darts here, the pleats rather. So I think this is really lovely. So I love wearing this with my Agnes tee in white cotton jersey that I made last year, I think, or a year before that. This is really an outfit I've been enjoying over the summer. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with this make, and I know we'll be enjoying this again in the spring. So I also made a Narcisse top by Anna Rose Patterns. So this is also a pattern that I had made earlier, and I had made it actually in another of Lise Tailor's fabrics, which was in the pink meadow viscose. But actually my initial version was really quite wide, and so I had taken it in quite a bit at the side seams, but there was still the issue of the straps being too wide, and it's actually quite difficult to fix, because the whole structure of the top depends on this. So for this version I cut a smaller size. I think I cut the smallest size actually, because it is quite loose fitting. And it fits much better. I also cut it quite much shorter as well. The initial version was super long on me. And so yeah, so it's a very simple tank top with bust darts and yeah, and some spaghetti straps and some facings for, to finish the neckline. Yeah, and so the fabric is Lise Tailor again. It's her Busy Bee in blue, in light blue, and of course it's blue, and of course I adore blue. But also I love the name Busy Bee, because that's pretty much what I typically tend to be on good days anyway. But yeah, and I absolutely love lavender, so I really like this little top. So this is great for a casual outfit, and it's very flowy, so it's really wonderful for the very warm, or hot rather, summers that we do have here. So yes, it's another one of these that I know I will get a lot of wear out of again next year, next spring and summer. So I can't recall if I shared my Sew Liberated Hinterland dress in my previous sewing podcast, but I do have a very detailed blog post about it on fluffyfibers.com. So if you're interested in this very summery linen dress, then feel free to go and check it out. But I did sew something else by Sew Liberated in the late summer. I think I sewed this in early September probably, and I love this so much. And it is her Estuary skirt, which I really loved as soon as it came out, really. And so as soon as it came out, I envisioned it in a linen, very long, because I had seen, I had saved on my Instagram an ad actually for once. I got an Instagram ad that was actually inspiring, but it was an ad for linen skirts that were made in France, and they were quite beautiful, very Edwardian, absolutely lovely. And so I wanted to recreate this sort of look with the Estuary skirt by Sew Liberated. And so I used some linen that is actually grown and woven in France, which is absolutely lovely. So it's from La Couture, and yeah, they have a huge selection of European and French linen. So this one, as you can see, is a lovely taupe colour. And yeah, let me take it off from the hanger. So yeah, it's a lovely taupe colour. And so again, just like with the Carrie trousers, you have a waistband that is flat for the front, and then it is elasticated at the back. So of course that makes for a more flattering, and also I feel a less casual style, I feel, because it's more structured at the front. But yeah, so this is an incredibly wide skirt, and my friend Lise actually, so you see, even if I'm not talking about a Lise Tailor fabric, I'm still talking about Lise, but yeah, she's incredibly inspiring, so yeah, what can I say? But yeah, she actually made it, we fell in love with the skirt at the same time, and she made it before I did. And so she had lots of great suggestions about the sizing. Lise and I are pretty much the same size and height, which is super convenient. And so, yeah, so she told me the sizing was incredibly large. So she actually hacked off quite a bit of width, and I did the same. So based on my measurement, I should have cut, I think, a 4, or between a 2 and a 4. But I ended up cutting a 2, and then even then, yeah, I reduced quite a lot of width anyway for the skirts, not the waistband. So I cut a size 2 for the waistbands, and a size, like even less than a size 0 really for the skirts, so that there would be less fabric, so that there would be less bulk as well. That also is, of course, a matter of proportions. Like if you're taller, you know, the skirt as it is designed by Sew Liberated is going to work quite fine for you, but for us petites, well, I talk from my personal experience, but personally I feel if there's too much fabric in the skirt, in a skirt or in a dress, it's just too much fabric for, you know, on my build. I guess not enough height to make up for the amount of fabric, I guess. But yeah, so and I think I also cut a smaller width for the back waistband, since it is elasticated. Oh yeah, and the lovely story about the buttons here is that I went to the haberdashers with my daughter, and she actually, so I was looking for something that was quite, you know, quite tonal. She spotted these buttons, and I think they're absolutely perfect. So I think she's got a great eye for this thing. So yeah, so I absolutely love this skirt. It's super comfortable because of the elasticated back waistband, but it's super elegant. I absolutely love wearing this. I love wearing this to work. So yes, and it also goes well with my white Agnes top, as you will see in the video. But I actually made a black Agnes top to go with this, among other things. I can't show you the black Agnes top because it's in the wash. I wore it yesterday. But yeah, it's the same, but not with the puffy sleeves. So a very, very simple Agnes tee. Very basic, but a great basic to have. And I actually shared on Instagram when I finished it that I think we all have, if we tend to sew quite a bit, we all have our favourite like t-shirt pattern, you know, the one you make over and over again that fits you just perfectly, that works really well for your figure, for your proportions, and to me that is the Agnes tee. So probably because the creator of the Agnes tee is Tilly and the buttons, and we probably have the same kind of figure actually, and of height. So again, you know, she seems to be rather petite, so I'm sure that helps. I know, for instance, you know, I adore Sew Over It patterns. I just absolutely love them, and I love the spirit behind the company, the spirit of Lise Comfort, but I definitely don't have the same figure as Lisa, who is quite tall, so I typically have to make quite a lot of adjustments when I'm sewing a Sew Over It pattern, which is, you know, normal. I mean, obviously that's one of the reasons why we sew, isn't it? I mean, so that we can precisely adjust, and so we get freed from the, you know, ready to wear, where there's just one silhouette fits all. Here you can adjust your proportions to your preference and to your own body type. So yes, but yeah, for the Agnes tee, it's just, for me, it just comes out perfect every time. I just feel it works really well for my proportions, really. So the next thing I made was actually the blouse I'm wearing, which is the Iris blouse from Slow Sunday Paris. So here you go. So as you can see, this design is quite interesting because you can make two completely different garments with it, either a loose-fitting jacket or this top. And yeah, so this is a really cute little top, very easy to make. I really love the neckline, the boat neckline. And so, of course, what's interesting about this top is the drop sleeves. So the stitch line is here. So the drop sleeves, and of course the cute little bows here. So very cute. Hopefully you can see this well. Yeah, there you go. I just love these. I just find this is so cute. And actually I find myself wearing this a lot. As you can see, it's December and I am still wearing it, and we do need to layer a lot in Montpellier in the winter because it can get really cold in the morning because of the clear skies, but then really quite warm in the afternoon with our sun, the very warm sun that we get here, which is absolutely wonderful. I love winter in Montpellier, it's absolutely wonderful. But yeah, so actually I find myself wearing this a lot, so I tend to layer it, and a cardigan, of course. And actually I recently made a cardigan which you might have seen in my previous podcast, which is the Yuya cardigan by Marianne Munier, and it is navy, so it works really well with this. So yes, this was really easy to make, very cute results. I did make a mistake when I read the cutting instructions, because you are supposed to cut 4 of the sleeves here, the bottom sleeves, so that you can line them with the same fabric. But when I was figuring out how much fabric I needed for this, I didn't take this into account. I just thought I needed 2 bottom sleeves, and so that is why it's actually lined with a plain navy viscose that I got at a local shop here. Luckily they had a really good match in terms of colour at Toto in downtown. So yes, because when I purchase fabric that has, that costs a certain price, such as Lise Tailor's fabrics, of course, because they are made in France, designed in France, and so on and so forth. I typically, most of the time, I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. And what is wonderful about Lise's shop is that you can get your fabric in 10 centimeter increments. I think the minimum cut is a half a meter, and then you can, ask for 50 centimeters, 60, and so on and so forth. And so for this particular blouse, I just wanted to get exactly what I needed. So what I did was I actually cut out the pattern and laid it onto another piece of fabric that I had to see how much length I needed. But yeah, I forgot to take into account that I would need these 4 bottom sleeves and not 2. Also, a reason why I'd like to do that, of course, is that it is much less wasteful, and I'm really trying to reduce my the fabric waste that I create, because I don't typically use it. It's very rare that I reuse some leftover fabric, because there's, most of the time, especially since I tend to make garments, 90% of the time, there isn't enough fabric for a full garment, even for my daughter now that she's 8, almost 8. She's definitely, I say 8 because she's definitely wearing 8, the 8-year size at the moment, so even though she's still 7. But so I like to reduce my waste in this way as well. So yeah, also, Lise's fabric is, it's limited editions, so I feel it's also good, it's like civic to only take what you need so that there's some left for other fellow makers, But yeah, I love this little blouse, I really love it. I wear it so much, it works so well with jeans, so I think I wear it pretty much every weekend at the moment. But yeah, and it makes me smile so much. These little fruit are so cute. And you will see in my next episode that I actually made a matching blouse for my daughter out of her cotton poplin, because she developed this motif, this design, both onto viscose and poplin. So yeah, you will see, I made a very cute blouse for my daughter as well. So my final piece for today is the very big piece that you see in the background, hence the reason why it's on the dress form. I felt it was fitting given the time and hard time it gave me, actually, to be quite honest. So this is the Robson coat by Sewaholic. So Sewaholic is a Canadian brand. So last year, so I used to have a trench coat that I absolutely loved. That actually looks very similar to the one I made, but that I bought when I was in Montpellier, when I arrived in Montpellier, which was exactly 10 years ago. And last autumn, so a year ago, so again, you know, because you need to layer a lot in Montpellier, so twice a week I commute quite a long way away from home, and so I need to leave home before 6. And yeah, typically it can get really quite cool or cold, so I need, you know, this and a cardigan and then obviously a garment underneath. But then when I come home in the afternoon, it's really hot, and so when I'm on the train home, I take my trench off and I put it in the racks on top of the seats. And what happened last year is that I got off the train, realised I had forgotten my trench coat, you know, ran back very fast in the train. It was already gone. So, and I asked several times at the, you know, lost and found if they had found it. It never made its way to the lost and found. So yes, someone probably took a fancy to it and is probably wearing it somewhere. But yeah, so, and of course I knew that my next trench coat had to be handmade. So this is the result. But I had very, very specific ideas in mind, because I really wanted it to match my previous trench coat that I really loved. So the two patterns that I considered were this and the Deer and Doe Luzerne trench coat, so they're definitely the same kind of coat. I feel this one has a wider skirt, which I love. I mean, you know, I love dresses and swishy skirts, so to me that felt more feminine. And also what I liked better about this as opposed to the Luzerne is the rounded lapels. So I felt that was really quite feminine and very much my style. So it was a very completely, you know, it has the codes of the trench coat, but completely, you know, softened really, which matches my view, you know, my aesthetic quite a bit. My original coat had these huge silver buttons, even larger than these, but these are the larger I could find. I had to look for quite a while to find buttons that matched my inner vision. Yeah, so I couldn't find anything locally in Montpellier, so I ended up ordering them from a Parisian shop. So you have 6 large buttons here, and then you have smaller buttons for the cuffs and also for details that I will show you later on at the shoulders and the back. And I actually managed to find this matching buttons, so the same buttons as here, but in a smaller on a smaller scale, which I was really happy about. So the other buttons I can show you are here for the taps at the shoulders. So, you know, you don't even see them because of the collar, but it's here. And then you have this one here. So you know there isn't a buttonhole here. It's just sewn to all the layers of the coat. So first of all, I have to say I am very happy with the final result. I do feel, however, it could have been better actually in terms of finishing. So as you will see in the video, the inside of the coat is finished with a hunking seam finish, so the seams are all bound with bias tape. And yeah, so it has lots of beautiful details. I love the finished result, but I was very, very disappointed, to be honest, in the instructions. So the pattern itself is really nice, really lovely, but the instructions for this kind of coat I found were very lacking. The reason why I like to use independent designers is, first of all, because I like to support independent makers, but also because typically the level of instructions and support is going to be much higher. You typically have, you know, blogs where you have sew along that detail every step of the way. You don't have that for this particular design. And yeah, if you recall, last year I made a Cascade Duffle Coat by Grainline Studio, which was a huge labour of love as well, but such an enjoyable experience because the instructions were incredibly detailed. I learned so much in terms of couture details, and even though it was a really finicky kind of project, a very long kind of project, I absolutely loved the experience. But here, so let me show you the experience, the instructions. All so they are. This is the sum of the instructions. Bearing in mind that here, for the first page, you don't even have half of the page that, you know, the instructions start here. So, yeah. And so what it means is that it leaves a lot to, you need to do a lot of guesswork. And the problem with that is that this kind of piece for me, the reason why I make this kind of piece myself is, of course, the most important reason for me is that it's much more ethical to make your own clothes. But also, another reason is that I want it to be absolutely perfect, you know, to match my inner vision, but also to be perfectly finished. I find for coats, jackets, it's especially important to have perfect details, really. And yeah, so I think that the thing I was most disappointed in was the way that the pockets were, the instructions for the pockets. I feel there should be a much smoother finish for the pockets. You have quite a lot of bulk here. So I'm sure nobody probably sees that. I can feel it, of course, when I put my hands in the pockets and so on, but still it annoys me very greatly. But yeah, you know, it's my very, very exacting mind here and my perfectionist mind, but also the fact that I have had such a wonderful experience with other instructions in terms of, you know, independent, like, outerwear patterns. But yeah, you know, yeah, so I have to say, though, this is important, I feel, that it was definitely, most probably, my least favourite item that I have ever made in the 15 years that I've been sewing. I think this was my worst experience in terms of making. It was so stressful, so frustrating, because I was constantly ripping things out, redoing things, and probably there was also, of course, an aspect in here that I remember making this at a time when I was really tired, and so I would precisely have needed, you know, to be handheld by the instructions, but yeah, that wasn't the case. So do be careful if you make this trench coat about this. But yeah, I adore the finished result. But I felt it was important to share this, and also it brought to mind some thoughts by Meg at Mrs. M's Curiosity Cabinet. So she has an audio podcast that I greatly enjoy, that is one of my absolute favourite podcasts to listen to. So I typically listen to podcasts when I am sewing, actually. So in this very room. And so one of her latest episodes was about this, about the fact that not every aspect of our making has to be enjoyable. Because if you think about it, in most hobbies, there are some times where it's not pure bliss, right? Like if you're learning a musical instrument, you have to do your scales. Sometimes it's hard to, you know, you have to practice so much. Sometimes you just don't feel like practicing, you know, before reaching this idyllic stage of practicing a piece to, you know, to your heart's content. So, and I think that probably applies to a lot of hobbies, especially in terms of making, of course. I know my father loved carving wood, and there is a very steep learning curve to carving wood, and also when you are doing it, there is a very tedious aspect to it, to carve and carve away the wood. So yeah, I think it's also important to realise not everything has to be like. Of course, I enjoy most of my experience with sewing. I love picking fabric. Normally, I love the actual assembling part of it. I'm not a fan at all of cutting out patterns and fabric. I was talking about this with a fellow French maker this weekend, Lise of Une Petite Crevette. Coucou Lise si tu regardes, je sais pas si tu regardes le podcast. So another Lise, not Lise Tailor, and she was batch. She was cutting out some garments in batch, and that's exactly what I do as well, because it's such a tedious process. To me it's really a chore, so I just like to get it out of the way, and she felt the exact same way. So yeah, but yeah, anyway, I love this trench, and I know I will be wearing it so very much. And yeah, in terms of the shade as well, so if you recall, I talked about this trench, actually, my plans for this trench, I think in March or April, because I wanted to match my previous trench. I was again very finicky about finding the right fabric, so I actually used several sample systems services from Petite Mercerie, which is where this comes from, and another French fabric shop, which is Petite Mercerie. And yeah, so eventually I finally got exactly what I had in mind. It's also because I wanted this champagne, I like to say, or sable colour, but with my colouring I have to make sure it's on the cooler side, and that's pretty rare in this kind of shade. And because also it's such a subtle shade, a neutral shade, of course the results are quite different from the screen. There are very subtle differences, but that are quite important on the scale of a whole garment. But yeah, I'm hugely happy with the fabric I used, which is 100% cotton gabardine, and so twill, a form of twill. Yeah, so a happy ending finally, but one that didn't come without much effort and maybe a bit of swearing as well. But yeah, this is where I'm going to conclude this episode. I do hope you enjoyed these various projects, even though they were definitely not seasonal. And I will be back very shortly with episode 76 about my more wintry makes. So in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I hope your making brings you joy. Bye bye!